That's it, thank you. You see people like Andy Hopper, he comes along. Herman and Andy have worked together. Andy Hopper is professor in the computer labs. He's a fellow of the Royal Society, eminent scientist. He runs a group of 500 people, publishes like crazy, flies his own plane, and has helped to start 12 companies. He remains in the university. On the right-hand side, we have a whole range of other individuals who I'm just trying to see which ones to point out to you. Andy's enough. We'll get one more click. Yeah. So here you have Richard Friend, and 2 companies for Richard Friend. He's Professor Richard Friend. He's got the highest cited paper in physics. He has shares in Plastic Logic and CDT. He has a board position in one of them for a while, not anymore. But the reason it works, it's not beer and coffee, it's walking in the park. Because Richard and Herman did their PhD together in physics. One became an entrepreneur and the other remains a professor. And what is your entrepreneurial ecosystem that you can create over time? This has taken 40 years, 50 years, by the way. So, you know, it's a big story. Forgive me for giving you so much data. I can't show you what it was like at the, when the universe was formed, the Big Bang Theory. But the Big Bang Theory here would be Herman starting his company around that time. The cat molester is finished here. There we go. So Gehan Amaratunga, for example, is another one. He has formed 2 companies more recently to do with energy. He remains a professor, very successful. And so we have the next slide, please. That's Herman Hauser. He's the godfather of enterprise in Cambridge. He recently gave £8 million to the university. When we sat with him, my researcher and myself, 62 companies he has formed, or helped to form, either by putting money, being a director in some way. All the yellow color is all Cambridge University people. I don't think you need the detail, but he has formed many big companies, very influential companies that you don't even know about because they're fundamental science companies and not consumer companies. So next slide, please. And the next. Now, this is the Cambridge Mafia. It's a nice way of saying it. I respect them. It's not a problem. All the thin lines, they work together at least once with each other. Press the button, please. 2 times, 1 more, 3 times, and finally 4 times. You will have around you in your ecosystem a handful of entrepreneurs that have done it over and over again with each other in terms of business that you should be introducing to yourself and to the students. So you need to get somebody somewhere to do this kind of landscaping. It may not be as complicated as this. And even our map, according to Annalise Saxenian in Berkeley University, is very light compared to Silicon Valley. But we have only 100,000 people in Cambridge, not millions as in Silicon Valley. So one small example is, if our student says, I have an idea for a microprocessor, then we say the Holy Trinity, whoops, it's gone, the Holy Trinity are Herman Hauser, Mike Muller, and Andy Hopper. In the end, you have to meet those guys, because they know everybody. So let's just speed to the next slide. I don't think we need too much of it, but basically, if you just keep pressing, 1960 started, few guys started, there's molecular biology, radionics, computer-aided design, then comes the science parts, Acorn was formed, and then consultancy firms were being formed, analysis and so on, and then little by little the business school, research parks, and finally the big companies have started to come to Cambridge now because it's interesting to come. Now you, and as a La Paz with Sibnor and with BioHelis, could you press it one more time? Could become attractive to companies in this sector. So you could imagine a trajectory for La Paz along these lines where the big companies begin to come because there is a talent pool available that you are grooming and nurturing and developing. And so the output of Signal and the output of could be employment in the BioHelis type environments, which then becomes lively and feeds itself actually long term. So that's one possible message from this. Well, the next slide. So we established ourselves in 2003. We wanted a course to inspire. We wanted to achieve scale. We wanted to respond to the needs of students, leverage the entrepreneurs to turn our entrepreneurs into educators. Because actually, you know what? It's easier to have entrepreneurs do teaching of entrepreneurship than to get the faculty to teach entrepreneurship. Because while the faculty might know about education, they don't know about entrepreneurship. The entrepreneurs, because they come with a high level of education and a high degree of capacity for synthesizing, we can give them the toolkits to be inspirational in the classroom with the curriculum. So if we have the next slide. We framed our model as a learning journey, because if we're going to do a culture change, it's going to take time. And we built up a portfolio of activity. So if I have the next few buttons, there we go, and again, and again. So we decided we need to inspire, because we will have skeptics, people who doubt this whole thing. You know, can you teach it? Can you learn it? Should we be doing it? Why should we be doing it? What's the point? Life is changing. Life is good. You know, come on. You know, you drive into Signal. Come, you guys look really cozy, right? I'm looking at this guy, Vyakarnam from Cambridge. Come on, you know, I just show up because the director's coming. Let's go and have what time's coffee? So why should you be doing this stuff? I don't. You have to answer that question, not me. So we had exactly the same thing in Cambridge. I faced exactly the same thing, and I'll give you two examples quickly about that. One is I went to the chemistry department and did my so-called pitch, my sales pitch to 3 professors, each one about 80 years old, in a lovely room with wood paneling. I said blah, 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 and they looked at each other. I suppose if our postdocs can't quite make it in academia, they might try the trade. And if they wish to try the trade, they could go to this young man. So they insulted me at the same time as they praised me. That was just 10 years ago. My uncle came through from the US. His son is an entrepreneur. He came through, stopped in my living room in Cambridge, and he was like, so what do you do? So, oh God, here we go. What does Shailendra do? He teaches, right? Mostly. What does he do? I don't know. So I tried to explain to him, and I looked at this and sucked his face. Even educated people are going into business. It must be like that here, right? And for the students here, you know, you go and tell your father or your mother, I'm going to go into business. They go, what? With all this education? Are you crazy? So we have that. Then we have intention. Maybe we raise some of that. Maybe you give a lot of information needed about what business is, what to do, etc. And then help people to do it. So we can just have the buttons pressing now. And again, and one more time. That will do, thank you. So we have created a portfolio of courses. Enterprise Tuesday, you know, it's a big thing on inspiration. Enterprises is about culture change. E-Tech is a credit-bearing course. Is this idea really worth pursuing? And Ignite is 6 days. It's for scientists who say, I have an idea, what do I do next? Right? Really hands-on stuff. And I brought some material on that. Could I have one more button, please? In September 2011, I'm very proud of this particular one. University of Cambridge, at the moment the #1 university in the world, is launching the postgraduate diploma in entrepreneurship. It's only taken me 10 years to get that through the system. And it will be running before I retire. Fantastic. I can talk more about it later. So, this is my US slide, okay? And I'm not going to spend time on it, but we have done a lot of stuff in the last 10 years. And the bottom line is that unless you have scalability, you make no impact. You have to have scalability. It has to be big. The one thing I did learn with my friends from MIT was, be fearless, think big, act fast. And if you don't have scale, you achieve nothing. Having a classroom of 30 students in entrepreneurship is not going to make a difference. You need to have a lot of people going through, because a few will start some big companies that will be successful. And the only other thing that really, the message, so if we just one more click here. So, reflections for a UVTC. It's the need of the hour, it seems to me, for Mexico. Your law has changed to recognize that. You want more independent thinking, less dependence on Big Brother next door, right? That's gone quite fast. You go back up. I think it's getting bored inside. It's making me move forward. Okay. Quickly. One more click. Okay, that's it. That's all I said. It's the end of the hour. Okay. I thought I had more. This is a checklist for your director, so I'm not going to waste your time on it. Okay. What do your directors need to think about? Is there a strategic alignment to the local knowledge-intensive resources? Does it fit with the national strategy of Mexico? Is your function to be clearly defined? I say beware of trolls. These are people who come and grab your technology and take it away for almost nothing, right? I don't know if you know what the troll is. It's a beast on the end of a bridge that eats sheep and goats as they go by. So you may have knowledge and IP here which is absolutely earth-shattering. Don't give it away cheaply. Have the self-confidence and the self-belief in what you have will make a difference to society. I'm not saying get greedy, but just don't undervalue it. I know that your coastline is full of pirates, so beware. Concurrent development, you need to have education to be supportive. You need the soft infrastructure. But most of all, I would urge you and encourage you to have a few role models and success stories early on in the game that people can learn from and to maybe try to emulate. And the other thing, I find it very addictive. I find entrepreneurship to be more addictive than Angry Birds, which is a new game on the iPhone, iPad and stuff. It's a fun place to be, entrepreneurship. It's a roller coaster ride, it's full of risk, but it's full of fun. So the last slide, I think, would be it. If you want to talk to me at some point, you can find me in almost any way you want. Thank you very much.
Si tienen algunas preguntas para Shai, por favor, si las pueden hacer en inglés, muy bien, si no las traducimos.
Well,